Well, the Australian media immediately rushed to interview anyone who's had any interactions with him here in Australia. And, well, the morning show found the single worst interview subject I've ever seen. They tracked down this polo horse trainer who once met Charles 30 years ago. And you can tell they didn't pre-interview him and they just shoved him live on TV because he literally spent the entire 3.5-minute segment answering a single question with a rambling, nonsensical answer. And it was TV led.
Welcome back on this special edition of Weekend Sunrise. Well, King Charles received a warm welcome on the streets of Cardiff in Wales overnight ahead of the vigil with his siblings. As King Charles tours the United Kingdom, back home, one Queensland man claims to have closer ties to royalty than many. Brenton Matthews was responsible for training horses that Charles used for polo more than 3 decades ago in Adelaide.
And while this week has been one of pomp and ceremony, Brenton says Charles is just your ordinary bloke. Horse trainer Brenton Matthews joins us now. Morning to you, Brenton. Can you give us a bit of a sense of your impression of the King?
Good morning. What was I missed that bit then?
I was just asking if you can remember back to your impressions of the King.
Well, yeah, it was a real relaxing day for me. Obviously, I didn't know what the performance would be. The build-up to it, when he was going to play, Major Ferguson, who was Fergie's father, was his horse manager, and he came out 2 days before and rode about 20-odd horses to see what was suitable. And then he picked out all of them, which were the horse he was going to play. And there were 6 to play for 6 chuckers and 2 spares. And to his credit, all the horses he picked were good-going, easy-going horses. I, as it happened, had broken in 4 of them and trained them. And when the performance, all the formalities were over, it was just Major Ferguson, the Prince then, and my wife Helen. And he just made me feel completely relaxed as I was strapping for any person. He hadn't handled the horses, obviously, and hadn't seen them till I presented them to him. He jumped on a couple to ride around them up, and while he was doing it, I said to Major Ferguson, could I get a photo of him on this particular mare that was a favourite of mine? And he said, yes, we'll organise that. Anyway, when the game started, I just gave King Charles a rundown on the horses each time, and then comically he just said, you sound like an Irish horse dealer. And then at one stage of the piece, when it was a very, very hot day, and his minders and doctors were worrying about the heat, and we were just riding along together when we passed them, and they asked him how he was going, and he said, yeah, quite okay. And then just to me he said, bloody Poms can't stand the heat. And then he smiled, he said, I was playing polo in Hawaii and the heat did knock me about a bit, but I'm handling it right today.
Oh, that's great.
And then when that mare that I wanted to get he was really natural and friendly. When the mare that he was riding that I wanted the photos of, he just pulled up straight away. Helen, is this the mare? And he positioned went where we wanted him to go. We took the photos. Now, you sure you got a film in that camera, Helen? When it was all done, then he joined back into the game. After the match was over, which they won, he said, can I see you back in the club rooms afterwards, Brenton? I said, yes, that'll be all good. Anyway, I was presented in the club rooms with a ebony cuffling holder. And then when all the procedures were over, I just grabbed a couple of long necks of beer and went out and sat in the shade on the lawn. And then he came out and he was looking for me, and one of the locals says, oh, he's sitting over there. As he walked over towards me, I went to get up. No, stay there, Brenton, stay there. And he had his security and whoever else was involved. And it did look as though he just wanted to sit out on the grass and upend a couple of long necks. And it was just, all he wanted to do was talk about me and what I'd done, not interested in any of the rest of it. But anyway, I think these miners were bringing the watch out and pointing, and he just shook his head. And then I think it worked out about half an hour late when he left. And I'm sure he would like to sit down and have a couple of beers.
Oh, Brenton.
Of course you grabbed a couple of long necks, Brenton. What an amazing yarn you tell.
That is great. I can see why he was so interested in you, Brenton. Thank you for sharing it with us this morning. We really appreciate it.
That's quite okay.
Well, we know that he's planning a trip out here soon in the next few years.
Well, I think it's safe to say that Queen Elizabeth's coronation in 1953 coincided with the birth of the television age, and her death definitely coincided with the death of it.